Hello, Nicholas Idoko here. Today's video we are going to be discussing mobile app development in Nigeria and what you should know either as a software engineer that creates mobile app, but I feel like this video is mostly going to be for clients or people that want to have a mobile app. Probably they don't know um how to go about it, and I'm just going to break it down, in phases, yeah, on how to go about it. So I'm Nicholas Idoko, a software engineer and managing director at Nicholas Idoko Technologies. I've built so many mobile apps. Some have made it to the stores, Google Play stores and Apple App stores. There are some that have been done for internal use, for just the organization. Yeah. And I would say that in most cases, most people actually don't need a mobile app. All they need is a website to get things going. And there are still some people who need a mobile app and don't actually need a website. Maybe they just need like a home page, and if people visit the web page, that single web page, they can redirect them to the mobile app to proceed. um Earlier on in my career, I used to feel like, for you to have a mobile app, you should have at least a website that is bringing in lots of users. But recently, I think in the past 2 years, that thought has been gradually changing, especially in the Nigerian context, because in Nigeria, yeah, most people don't actually have a laptop, or I kind of had to realize painstakingly what I mean by is in the hard way, yeah, that most people don't actually even know where their Google Chrome is. In fact, I was surprised. I was speaking to somebody, a guy that has even graduated from uni, and he doesn't even know what a browser is. So when I kept on telling him use your browser to access it, he kept on asking me what is a browser. And to be honest, I did not believe it. So, but they know everything about the Play Store. They know how to get apps. They know how to download and use apps. In fact, they all prefer apps. So what led me to that point is I had a client that kept on insisting that he doesn't want to have a Google Play Store app or Apple App Store app because he doesn't have the finance to go about it, but he wants to have a progressive web app. So what that is a website, but on the phone you can actually transition it into an app. The person has to visit the website and can easily transition it into an app, and it would operate like an app. Yeah. And that's what we ended up doing for the client. And I could see the reason why. He was the one that actually changed my mind. So it is also good to have a mobile app, but if you cannot afford to put it on the stores, you can now look towards setting up a progressive web app. It still has some friction in the Nigerian audience, precisely because, like I said, most people don't even really know how to operate their browser. I found it difficult even explaining to a client how to clear the cache of their browser on their mobile phone, then not to talk of ordinary users. So most times us that are techies, we do think that what we know, most people know it, but actually that's not the case. Yeah. So smartphones, almost everybody in Nigeria now has a smartphone. If you are trying to create a service that is going to be B2C, which is business to consumer, and you are looking towards something like fintech or e-commerce or betting or maybe bill payments, it is always good to have an application. Like, you would have more edge over somebody that is just operating over the website, because most people, they are familiar with apps. Do I want to use it? They just go to the apps to go and do whatever they want to do. They don't want to have to start going to the browser to to go and visit www.whatever.com. Yeah. And most times, if a lot of people's browsers are really complicated. I remember when I was doing outreach, we are trying to get functional requirement for a client, and one of the workers at the company there, um I pulled up his Google Chrome, and I could not believe he had up to 200 tabs open. I don't even know how the phone is operating with 200 tabs open. And she didn't even know how to close those tabs or how to remove those tabs. I felt like if she was just opening it up, browse what she wants to do, open out. So all those things can make things really complicated if you do just a website, especially for the service you're offering. Now, if you are running services just like as I am now, I build web and Android and iOS apps, even software for people. Yeah, I don't actually need an app. All I need is a website where people can actually see my portfolio. There is no point building an app because I am not trying to do entirely B2C here. So there are situations where maybe you want your company website, you want your let's say you are into real estate, but you're majorly just showing or showcasing your real estate properties. I don't really think you need an app. If you are into um financial auditing, all those things that might need people seeing what you've done before, you don't really need an app. So but if you are trying to get the Nigerian market, if you look at it, most of the companies that are in favor with the Nigerian market all have an app. OP, MoneyPoint, almost all, even Temu that came in, they have an app because almost every Nigerian now has a smartphone, and the best way to reach every Nigerian, if you are trying to build an application or a software to go to or a larger audience in Nigeria, I feel like this applies to Africa as well. Um, you need an application to do that. Now, there are two types of applications that you can do depending on the operating system. There is native and there is hybrid. Yeah. So native meaning this is kind of the developer section here. Yeah, maybe you are building it on the Android ecosystem. You're using Kotlin or Java, for example, to build an Android application, but it is only going to run on Android. Yeah. Then there is hybrid, which means you can you can write a code once and you can deploy it on both Android and iOS. Now, I personally use Apache Cordova. I fell in love with it the first time I used it and I kept on using it. In fact, I have advanced so far in the Cordova stuff that I even build my own personal plugins. Yeah. So I can actually build my own plugins and actually manipulate the apps the way I want to manipulate it. Yeah. So and hybrid, when it came up, I think it was not so long it came up. It surfaced, and a lot of people um it didn't have most of the capabilities it have today. It has gotten better year in, year out. There is Apache Cordova, there is Flutter, there is Ionic. There are a bunch of them now, but it before you could see the difference easily between a native application and a hybrid application, but these days you rarely even see it. Most applications now are even on hybrid because they want to save cost. If you are building on hybrid, you have the ability to save cost, and you can write that code once, deploy it on both Android and iOS, as opposed to native where you write for Android, then you also write for iOS. I believe iOS is Swift. You use Swift or Objective-C to write for iOS. Yeah. So if you are doing native, you have more, I would say you have a way, you have all the capabilities that the OS can actually offer you on the native side. However, it is going to be way more expensive. It is going to take more time, obviously, because you are writing two different code bases. And maintenance can also be very tricky. So that is the cons for it here. But regarding the hybrid, you have React Native, Cordova, like I've said, and Facebook is actually using hybrid. I don't know if there are some elements that is native, but I believe Facebook we are the ones that brought up React Native. It is faster for you to launch because you need to write the code once. So you have one code base that can feed Android and iOS. It is cheaper as well, and it is easier to maintain. Yeah. Now, and also when building an app, I would like to also emphasize that if you're a client or you are somebody that wants to hire a developer to build an app, apps are usually more expensive than websites. So you need to bear that in mind when trying to um, um, contact a software engineer to build you one. and it is a bit more complicated than just setting up a website. So bear that in mind. Now, you should not have unrealistic expectations when building an app, because there are still some constraints not really tied to the developer, but tied to the operating system like Android, iOS. I think there is Huawei coming up now, but most people don't actually use Huawei. There is Huawei store. I'm not saying it's an OS, but there's a store where you can upload it. I believe it's using Android as well. And I believe those are the things you need to know about when you're thinking about setting up an application or putting an application out there, especially in the Nigerian space here. In summary, yeah, apps would do you more good if you are targeting a large audience, especially since everybody has a smartphone and your business is mostly B2C, which is business to consumer. You would have more reach on apps than actually websites. If you don't have the finance to build the apps on both stores, I would suggest that you do a progressive web app, and gradually, as your business grows, you can now move into an app that is on the Google Play Store and the Apple App Store. Also, I've also informed you of the various types, the native and the hybrid. I believe when you reach out to a developer, if you're a developer listening to this, you should know this. If you are reaching out to a developer, it's also good to know this, so you can know which of them you can ask your developer, and your developer can explain further on how they can go about doing it. Yeah, I believe that is all for today. Thank you, and bye bye.